it's a bit better. But if I lean forward,
Okay.
it's naughty. Let me
Well,
see.
remember to stay that way, though, isn't it? Just automatically move.
Hang on. Copy. Let's turn that off. Go back there. Hopefully I'm live and you can now all see me. Just to let you know. Oh, and then we had light. Yeah, my back is hurting. So before I start with anything, I'll give you an update on my back, which you've... Yesterday, I phoned the doctors and I said what was wrong with my back, and the fact that I had a previous operation when I was 29 and they took the disc out, blah, 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 blah. I explained everything to them and said I'm in extreme pain, right? And I know what that pain feels like. And in case you don't know what it feels like, and just in case someone like Rupert Lowe is listening, imagine having a toothache and a dentist touches your nerve and that type of pain goes straight up and it's fucking agony, right? Well, the same pain is what I get in my back, right? And it's like someone is stabbing the nerve, and it's not a pain that you can't control it, and then your back goes into spasm, and then it makes it fucking worse, right? So the doctors said they'll triage me and get back to me. So after last night, I was on the floor, just over there. I had to get on the floor and lay on my back, right? Problem is, I was fucking screaming in pain. The lady I've got here was shitting herself because she said you went fucking deathly white, and she wanted to call an ambulance, right? And I have to wait for the pain to get off, but the pain won't go, right? And in the end, I had to force myself, even with the pain, to try and get into a different position, right? Otherwise, the pain just continues, right? And when I say it is fucking agony, it's a screamer. I don't know. It's a weird. It's just fucking hurts, right? It's like a toothache and someone stabbing a nerve in your tooth, but it's in your back and you can feel it, right? And then both your legs feel like they're on fire. Your ass feels like it's on fire. Part of me fucking legs gone numb. All sorts of shit happening, right? Anyway, cut long story short, calm down a bit. I've got myself up the stairs and just laid on the bed. And the point being, right, after about 30 minutes, there's some weird things with this, by the way. After about 30 minutes, the pain subsides, right, and then everything starts to calm down. Then it's all right until you actually get up and you put weight back on your back again. But if I'm walking up a hill, there's a hill outside here. It's like there's nothing wrong with that. It's the weirdest thing you've ever seen in your life, right? Try walking down the hill, right? It's fucking wall. Oh, hang on a minute. You feel like a fucking cripple, right? Or a flat surface. Anyway, but uphill seems all right. Anyway, it gets to this morning. It's all right. The pain's coming in me back a little bit. If you see me make some funny noises. And the weird thing is I can't sit down, right? So I can stand up or lay down. I can walk going uphill. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you is just so there's a couple of things I was going to say to you, right? And there's some people who suffer from this. It's not, and it's something that could go away. It may not go away. So the lady who's here at the moment said, that doctor's not even come back to you. I said, yeah, I know. So she's gone off. She's like a little Rottweiler. She said, I'm going up that fucking doctor's, right? She couldn't find it. She come back, right? She don't live around here. She's come back. She said, give me their number. I'm going to ring them. And then she rang them up and she said, this is what happened. This is what you said. He was on his back 3 hours in agony and you haven't even rung, let alone booked an appointment, right? What's this triage all about, right? So they apologised and said, we'll make a note of it. 30 minutes later, get a phone call from the doctor. And he basically said, I've just looked at your medical notes. Tell me what's going on. And I told him. And he said, right, we are booking you for a scan at Exeter Hospital on your spine, right? Because it needs looking at because of your previous operation and how it came about, basically. So, cut a long story, and then what they've done is made a prescription for anti-inflammatories, extreme painkiller, and something else. And he said, just be careful because when you take these painkillers, you can feel a bit spaced out. All right, so I've took 2 tonight. Yeah, I feel a bit spaced out. Right, so I haven't been smoking cannabis. This is perfectly legal. But what I'm trying to do, I'm just letting you know. So if I do cut the show off or anything like that, I have to then try and get up the stairs and lay down. And I'm hoping they're going to resolve it as quickly as possible. But I don't know what's going to happen. So was there anything else to do with that? That was it, really. So the other side of the fence, before we get into the main point of the show, is Ben Yamin Naeem Habib was on Liam Tuff's show 2 weeks ago, and 2 weeks ago, and he's had 140,000 views in 2 weeks, just to let you know. Whereas I was on the show the day before, well, it got released on Sunday evening, and we have had 75,000 views in less than 24 hours. 75,000 views in less than 48 hours. So the point is, these people have cancelled me and cancelled me and cancelled me and cancelled me. Most people know. I mean, a lot of people know. They send me Facebook links, and I say I'm banned from Facebook. I've been banned from Facebook for the best part of 10 years. And I mean properly banned, right? They will not have me on that platform. Yeah, for the advice of Dr. Glidden, looks like it's working well there. Just to let you know that Dr. Glidden's concoction is this, and I'm taking them, funny enough. I would take another 2, which I probably will before, but I'm using that as well. The problem with Dr. Glidden stuff is anything that's natural takes time. Not if you've like he says on his show. Thank God for cocaine-based things for your dentist and anaesthetics and all sorts of things like that. Right? But the actual natural medication is a different thing. But getting back to where I was. Benjamin Naeem Habib did a video with I forget his name now, the one who was on GB News, who's now not on GB News, the one who's a New Zealander, but his parents come from Essex. And the point he was making, I believe it was with, was it Dan or Don Cotton or whatever his name is? He was trying to express to everyone that our kings and queens are German descent, blah blah blah, and he only went from a certain point, and that certain point was after the Acts of Union. He's ignored England entirely, going all the way back to 927, and English, the separate kingdoms, several distinct kingdoms of England, not Scotland. He's ignored all of that, so that there's probably 2,000 years of history of England, right? Yet he is a self-described Pakistani, British Pakistani. I want everyone to understand this. British as a nationality only existed from 1948. The British Nationality Act of 1948 was the one at Schedule 4 that removed or implemented the British nationality, and because it didn't exist previously, and it removed via Schedule 4 the protections of the Acts of Settlement of 1701, which meant that you could only have a position of authority, MP, Lord, or otherwise, and any position of profit in this country, meaning England, right? Because in 1701 there was no British Parliament, unless you was born of English parents, plural, right? So there's that side of it, and that was brought in by Clement Attlee, who was a Fabian Prime Minister, a Marxist, right? And remember, what I've said is we lost the war to the Soviets, right? So you may have beat the Nazis, and the English are against Nazism and communism. We're English. No one rules over us. We have a common law jurisdiction. Both Nazis and communists are about administrative law. The state controls everything. Whether you're a Nazi, and that's why I don't understand these people who march around as, supporting the British Union of Fascists, when Oswald Mosley was a Labour Party minister for 11 years, right? So that's the leader of the British Union of Fascists. And he was a famous party member. And all these people who say, Nazis were right wing, that is complete idiocy. They were self-styled as National Socialists, right? So they was communists, but on a national level, not on an international level. So why is it important? Because Benjamin Naim Habib talks about Pakistanis, so British, created in 1948, Pakistani, created in 1948 by the British, and seems to completely ignore English history, English legal history, which is specific. We're not just interested in monarchies. By the way, we can remove the monarchy if we want, because the monarchy is created by the rule of law. That's the way it is, and I can explain that from the law books. So, in other words, the common law of England can give you a republic, or it can give you a monarchy. In England, and to this date, technically, you've only got to go and have a look at the coronation of any king or queen. It's more visible with Queen Elizabeth II, where the Archbishop of Canterbury turns to the left, to the right, or actually to the east, to the west, to the north and the south, and asks people in Westminster Abbey, do you accept Princess Elizabeth as your queen? If any of them people have said no, that's an election. If any of them people have shouted out no, right? She couldn't have been queen, right? That's why they're very specific with their invite list. Trust me, right? Because if anyone shouts that, no, we're not accepting that, then the answer is she doesn't become queen. I don't think they showed you that part in full during Charles's coronation. And there's more to that coronation that meets the eye, because there was part where he was put behind the screen, and that's the first time that's ever happened. And the coronation process must be fully visible, and it wasn't. Right, so there's a lot of reasons why, and he's already perjured his oath technically. In other words, he's not my king, he's not our king, he's not your king, he's not anyone's king, because he's perjured his oath. You can perjure your oath by deed. So my point being with Benjamin Naim Habib is he's shown his true colours, and anyone supporting Advance UK, which is basically what I said from the off, I think you should all remember, I joined for I think about 2 days. All they wanted to talk about was Northern Ireland. He would not talk about England at all. He allowed for an Advance UK Wales, an Advance UK Scotland, and no advance for England, right? And Northern Ireland. That's exactly the process of the Fabian Society. Go and have a look at their website. They will not. There's nothing on there about England. Nothing, right? Because Marxists seek to destroy England. Karl Marx and Eccles, who were co-authors of the Communist Manifesto, it was Eccles who said, and I quote, every communist revolution has been shipwrecked on the rock of England. Didn't say Britain, didn't say Scotland, didn't say Northern Ireland, didn't say Wales. What did he say? He said England. And that's because we have a common law jurisdiction, common law rights, and constitutional rights. And most importantly to everyone watching this, we have a constitutional settlement. It was a Protestant settlement because we were under attack. And we're under attack again by 3 different sets of people: the Jesuits, the jihadists, and the Jewish mafia. Because they all need to destroy England for the common law to be eradicated. And we are the beating heart of the United States of America. So there's a few things going on. That said, you'll note in the papers today, and I didn't know until someone sent it to me in our group, that Jerry Adams, the person who was leading Sinn Féin, and there's more to this than meets the eye, is now in High Court on a balance of probability that as he was the leader of the provisional IRA and was responsible for a number of bombings in England, right? Not Scotland, not Wales, England, right? And that is in the High Court currently. He denies that he was the leader of the IRA. He is denying that, but they have allowed the case to continue. So the case is actually in the High Court today, where there are a number of claimants against him, and all they're claiming is £1 in damages. They just want this case to be heard and for everyone to understand that he was the leader of the provisional IRA, and he was as responsible as the people that detonated the bombs in England. You can call it a co-conspirator, you can call it a lead on strategy, you can call it joint enterprise, as we do in law, but he was equally responsible for them bombs going off. So he is in court today defending himself and his position that he was not a member of the IRA and not leading the IRA, right? So there's a lot of things that's really important to that, because I've never seen someone like him being brought before the court before. there is something else that people need to know. And what I've said is, if you do not void the Acts of Union, right, which is the plural, the Acts of Union created a British Parliament. The British ensign or flag, or jack, depending where you place it, represents the British Parliament, not the nation states of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Right? They have separate flags. Right? We've got a separate flag, and it was a political union, not a monarchical union. The monarchical union happened in 1603. That's important because you understand that the monarchical union that existed, and there was a famous case, I think it was called the Calvin case, with Sir Edward Coke, before the union took place. There were a question of Scottish rights and English rights, and Sir Edward Coke actually said in court, they are shared rights. It is a shared monarch, right? So the rights belong to both of us, including, I may add, the right to keep and bear arms. Because that was a pre-existing right of the English. We only started being disarmed by the Catholics, right? And again, just down the road from where I live at the moment, there was a big, I think it was it might have been 1559, there was a big Catholic versus Protestant battle. I think it was called the Prayer Book Battle, or the Prayer Book War, something like that, right? It was big at the time. It weren't minor skirmish. It was a massive little fucking civil war. And it was between the Catholics and the Protestants. So again, if I do start talking about Catholic and Protestants, I'm not having a go at everyday Catholics. But the Jesuits, which is the military wing of the Roman Catholics, right? So remember who they are, because they're fucking dangerous. The point I'm getting at again is, once people understand that you need to go through a series of laws, if you don't void the Acts of Union, I mean abolish, so it's never been law, never existed, then you need to go, it's more difficult because you need to go through at least 20 to 50, possibly more, individual laws, which I know most of, and you need to abolish those, right? Because they're the ones that attacked by stealth the English Constitution, and they knew what they was doing, right? So why is it important for me to bring that up today? Because Jerry Adams is in court and suggesting that he was not the leader of the IRA, that he was not their lead strategist, that he wasn't one of the most prolific commanders of an IRA unit that murdered more people under his command than anyone else, right? But here's the kicker. In 1911, something was passed that had a profound effect on the English, and it was called the Parliament Act of 1911. It profoundly changed our constitution in a negative way, in our governance in a negative way, in the way that laws are passed in a negative way, and more importantly, our ancestors at the time, who were businessmen as members of Parliament, stood up and said, you don't want to do this, because you're going to create a political class. Because one of the things that they passed with the 1911 Parliament Act was paying members of Parliament. So you created a political class, you created a profession by paying individuals, right? Where most of the MPs were members of Parliament who were businessmen. At the end of their business careers, they've made a lot of money and they give back, a bit like what Rupert Lowe's doing now, right? Unlike Nigel Farage, right? Because Nigel Farage was a junior commodity broker in the metals exchange. He was a blue button. In other words, he's been telling everyone that he was some, broker, earning all this dough, proper little geezer, highly intelligent, public school and all that. He was a blue button. What does that mean? It means he was a gopher for people like Rupert Lowe, who were the real brokers. So Rupert Lowe was a real broker in the metals exchange in the stock market in London, and Nigel Farage, in effect, was a runner for him and others doing the admin. He was a Joey, right? And he sort of lied to people about who and what he was, right? So once you understand all that, you then understand that the Parliament Act of 1911, getting back to it, why it's important is because Sinn Féin and the Labour Party pushed that through Parliament. So let me say that to you again. Sinn Féin, the Fabian Society, is key to this, and the Labour Party pushed that through Parliament. And it created profound changes to our constitution. There's absolutely no issues in my mind whatsoever that people who have earned money, self-made millionaires or otherwise, in business throughout their life, who understand business, understand the real world, understand how business works. In fact, you don't want to monopolize certain industries. You shouldn't be monopolizing any. But I want to make sure I'm clear on this. The National Health Service, which is now an international health service to the rest of the world, right, was paid for by people like me, you, my grandparents, your grandparents. What's really important for people to understand is that was argued against in the same Parliament. In fact, Winston Churchill said, you don't want to do this. This is the first run of a socialist ladder. My argument is he was wrong, but I'm being pedantic because it was the second run. The first run was enacting the 1911 Parliament Act. That's when they really started taking control. So when people start talking about it's only in the last 20 or 30 years, no. Things have speeded up. I absolutely agree that is the case. But this has been a sustained attack on England and the common law of England and the common law constitution for at least 150, maybe 200 years. I mean, I pin it down to 1812. So when the British lost the second time in the American War, because it weren't just there was a number of things they lost, but they lost the independence war in America, obviously 1776. They went back and had another go, and there was little skirmishes going on all over America. They lost again in 1812 when they burnt down the White House. Technically, the Civil War of 1860 was the North, being British, controlling the South. It wasn't about slavery. But why is this all important? Because it's all ongoing. And Jesuits and the Jewish mafia are in control of what the actual attacks are. We've just got a third group of people aligned against us, which are the jihadists, which is the military wing of Islam. So just making sure. Does everyone understand what I've just said? So the reason why I don't know why Jerry Adams is in court today, only that for some reason they've allowed this case to continue. I think it's going to be an interesting case, if I'm honest. If I was in London, I'd go up and have a listen to it, but I'm not in London, so I won't. And I don't fancy to drive anyway. But that's it, mainly. Any other questions on that? 1911, very close to the start of the Fed in 1913. No, exactly. There is an organised. So the reason why I love this audience is because you've started to learn. You've learned. a lot about the Constitution. And then when you come up with these dates, you will start saying, well, that's that and that's that. Like, I'll give you an example. I've read a case that come out today. I'm not sure if I can bring it up on the screen or not. Let's see if I can. It was to do with council tax. Let me have a look. Let's see if I can get that. Not now. Let me see if I can get this. There was a case in the High Court today. Let's see if I can bring this up. Let's see if I can bring this up. Right, I've just brought it up high on the screen. About council tax in the High Court. There it is there. Let's see if I can bring that up. Right, so you should. That was the judgment was released. Let's have a look and see. There's a date. 3rd of the 7th. The date of it started was the 3rd of the 7th, 2025. Now, what this guy has done, just to explain it to you, there's a lot of things going on out here that's quite important. Let's have a look, see if I can bring that up further up on the screen. So, it's a council tax case. Timothy Corner, King's Counsel, sitting as a deputy high judge between John Morley, who was the claimant, and Surrey Heath Barry Council and Guildford Magistrates Court. He's basically made a claim against both of them. So, without going into the full detail, I will tell you he technically lost the case because he never paid his council tax, right? But what he was arguing was that the council, when making a claim, when handing you a summons for liability and telling you they was going to go to court, it had already been agreed some years before that the summons only cost 50 pence. And what they were saying was you need to pay the full amount of council tax plus £80.50. 50 pence is the summons, £80 is for the court proceedings, and you need to pay the full amount, including your council tax. Otherwise, we're going to take you to court. What this guy has basically gone to court and said was, that's an unlawful summons, right? Well, here's the kicker. The judge agreed. And what he said was, there has been no, when you send out that summons, it's 50 pence. They've actually now, through inflation, raised it, I think, to £3 in this case. He said, but writing out a letter and sending a letter out is a summons, but the summons, there's no real work in that, right? You're just laying it out. It's a standard thing. And he said, but by demanding £80 and 50 pence on the summons, that's an unlawful summons, because there has been no court fees associated with a liability order, because the liability order hasn't been issued, and the magistrate hasn't proceeded, right? I'm trying to see if I can find you where it actually. Let's see. It goes through the facts of the case, and by the way, this is what we're. So the beauty of it is, in my judgment, let me have a look. However, let me see if I can show the summons issues. I should have gone for the. Should the summons and liability be quashed? Although he clearly considered the summons to be unlawful, the claimant did not pay the council tax due before the council's applications for liability order was heard by the court. Council therefore applied for and obtained a liability order against the claimant at a hearing. Now, why this is important is because it goes through a number of different aspects. I'm trying to find a bit that I want to show you. Conclusion, right? So I conclude it was unlawful for the council to issue a summons demanding, as a precondition for avoiding an application for liability order, payment of a sum derived from the calculation, which included the additional cost of applying for liability orders. However, I refused to quash the summons and or the liability order because the claimant failed to pursue his alternative remedies, and because had the unlawful conduct not occurred, it is highly likely that the outcome for the claimant would have been the same, and or because the claim is academic. Accordingly, I grant permission to apply for judicial review against the second defendant, right, which is the magistrate's court, but refuse to quash the summons and or liability order. So, what in effect as this? So what the judge is saying is that the council should have separated. So they should have said the summons fee is £3. You need to pay the council tax and plus this £3. Right. Instead, they was asking the person to pay the liability costs of the court case that hadn't occurred, which is unlawful. Right. The reason why this is it is important that people get things right. There was a way he could have dealt with this without going to court, right? And that's what one of the things that judges said, you've got to exhaust that first. But one of the things that he brings up in here is, so I've got a different argument. I've got a constitutional argument of why council, and there's two things that I want to bring up to you. Oh, right, my back just fucking triggered. Hang on a minute. Legal framework, right. So the Local Government Finance Act 1992, the Act, confers on local authorities the power to levy and collect council tax payable in respect of dwellings situated in this area, right? And then it goes into the law. There's two things I want to say to people about this, right? If you do all this stuff individually, you can cause yourself problems. The judge has said that the council is responsible for their own costs in this matter, and so is the claimant, right? So he's not awarded costs against anyone. Why is this important? Because the Local Government Finance Act 1992 was, in my opinion, it is arguable that it was unlawfully enacted because it didn't go through the proper process of an enactment of law, because there was a phrase contained in it that had been put in by something else that had been created by another Labour person, Roy Jenkins, that said that the Crown didn't have to assent because it was nothing to do with them. Right? Well, that means there was no assent process whatsoever for that law, and that means that the law enacted, which is the Finance Act, the Local Government Finance Act 1992, Finance Act 19, is unlawful because it didn't go through the proper process of enactment. That's the first thing. The second is quite significant, or equally as significant, not just about the Local Government Finance Act 1992, but your constitutional. So if anyone was refused, and I believe Norfolk Council or Great Yarmouth Council backed down to not having elections with Rupert Lowe and Great Yarmouth First, who are going to absolutely nail the election. The reason why I believe they backed down is because of the constitutional provision and constitutional law that there is no taxation without representation. First, you cannot make laws if you do not allow people the opportunity to vote, right? Because you're voting in people that are making the local laws as well as national laws. And because the council and councils all over England had cancelled elections, then you shouldn't be paying any tax, because there is no tax without representation at all, right? And there must be freedom of elections. So no taxation without representation goes back to the Petition of Right of 1628. It also goes back to the Magna Carta, and it also goes back to the English Bill of Rights. So there are three constitutional elements where it is entrenched and time immemorial that you cannot apply taxes to people without allowing them to vote. Right? If so, when I went to the demonstration the day after the launch of Restore Britain in St George's Park in Great Yarmouth, Rupert Lowe mentioned you have rights. And by the way, he was looking at me when he said it, right? If I had got up on that stage, I would have told everyone there and if I'd been at the launch of the party on stage, I would have told everyone what the law is. And if they cancel elections, right? We've never cancelled elections even during wartime, right? There is no taxation without representation. They cannot tax you. Your defence, and it always has been, is to withdraw paying tax, and especially a council tax. So what I'm trying to say to people is, if you was ever charged council tax, whether it be in London or anywhere else in the country, but you was refused access by the council or the government in electing your representatives, then what was that the film?
Just the glasses.
Yeah, don't worry, don't panic, hon. Make sure they're all right. If that is the case, that's happened anywhere, you could even put in a class action in them areas. When I say class action, I mean it's not called that in this country. It's called a group litigation order. But people have to start thinking about group litigation orders. In American, they call them class actions. And what's up on your screen now, there are issues. I mean, if anyone in the past has ever, if you've received a summons, lost your bottle, and paid the council tax, and then paid them the £80 and 50p, that's already been ruled in this case as unlawful. Right, and you can use the paragraph. Let me see if I can find it for you. If I can find the actual paragraph. What I hate doing is I haven't actually written this down. Law. Approach to this was unlawful. The outcome would not have any. There's 19 instances of it. It follows. It was unlawful the council to issue something. Right. It was not. It would not be appropriate to use the council's cost schedule for Regulation 34.5 case, where the person's liability, council tax owing more, blah blah blah. But this is what the judge said: no reasonable local authority could issue a summons demanding payment of a sum of costs which was distorted in this way, as a precondition of avoiding a liability order being applied for, because the demand was for payment of costs which would only properly be due if the council had to go to court to apply for a liability order. It follows that it was unlawful for the council to issue the summons which it did, right? So there is that paragraph. I'm not sure if it's going to highlight for you. Wow, nuts. 34. There it is there, paragraph 35, right? So if anyone is out there, you can win this, you can win these cases, but don't take it to court. Send a pre-action letter to the council and say, this is if you received the summons, it made you pay the council tax and the what they describe as a liability bit, £80 plus 50 pence, right? The only legitimate part of that is the 50 pence. So they would have to return to you the 80 quid. And it's worth sending them a letter if you paid your council tax, right? So in other words, this is to people who lost their bottle and paid the council tax, right? Or you owned your own house and thought better of it, right? Because it's the only real people who can get away with not paying council tax are tenants. Because you can't lose, you don't own your house. Right, so in other words, if you haven't got assets. Now I'm going to the next one. By the way, this judge said it out in here. This is an important case, by the way. And I'm not having a pop at the geezer that brought the case. I'm just telling you what the judge has said. And there is a thing, right? So again, he goes in and he says, I've not seen how the figures of £80 council costs was arrived at in the 27th in another case, but a liability included the figures on the basis of which the council sought costs in the summons. For the reasons I've set out, I think this was unlawful. Right? And that's coming from a High Court judge. Then he goes on to, it says, although he clearly considers the summons to be unlawful, the claimant did not pay the council tax due before the council's application for a liability order was heard by the court. The council therefore applied for and obtained a liability order against the claimant at a hearing before the second defendant. Now, I just want to make sure everyone's aware of this. If we bring constitutional cases, one, and I've already explained it, which goes against the enactment of this that give authority to local councils to charge you council tax. Well, there's two things. If they mess with any form of election, council elections or council local elections, then you have the right to withhold your tax, right? Because there is no taxation without representation. I've already explained that. The second thing is that this law that they rely on that created this enactment was done unlawfully, unconstitutionally, because it did not go through the proper process of enactment of law, right? The enactment of law says there is a drafting, and they put a certain phrase in that, which I'll go and look up in a minute to see if it's in there, right? There's a phrase that's used, and it was a Labour Party and the Fabians that created that and put it into certain laws that they passed and say it's got nothing to do with the Crown. Don't bother yourself, monarch, right? It's nothing to do with you. This is the people only, right? That's not the way law is enacted in this country. There has to be a drafting, a first reading, a second reading, a third reading, and it passes all of that without amendments or with amendments, then goes to the monarch, right? But now they do it by letter payment. They shouldn't be doing that. The monarchy is not doing the job that they're supposed to. We live in a constitutional monarchy, not a constitutional democracy. It's a constitutional monarchy. The monarch still has the right to veto laws if they go against our rights. It's part of the separation of powers. And because that law was passed with skipping the assent, the royal assent, even if it's letter payment, it was skipped, right? That makes that an unlawful act and should be null and void from inception, right? That means they have to give all the council tax back. What do you think of that? Let me go back up there. Hopefully everyone understood that. That was a bit too technical, really. But I've been reading through that today with my back. With me on my back, looking at a tiny little phone, trying to read through it. But there you go. Once my back is improving, I'll be able to do a few other things. Well, I've got to be careful as I move. Full English show. Yeah, grandma. Let me have a look at this. I don't know what that one is. Basically, Graham, can you shed some light on this? Rich Does Politics said some about war tax. He mentioned to go to a website and fill in the form that you're against paying war. Are you familiar with this? You can be a conscientious observer, and there are laws. And by the way, I've got one of these law books that states it. That's why when Crypto Rich talks about that and says, they have created this thing, I don't want to get involved. I think you need to do it at high court level and argue things, because you start getting individuals involved, you're just playing their game, right? The books I've got here tell me that under the anti-terror laws, it is unlawful for you to fund any form of terrorism or violence or unlawful violence. That's why they have to be very careful when they go to war with someone. If it's declared unlawful, basically everyone paying tax in this country is responsible for funding terrorism, and except it is your government and your military that is committing the terrorism. That's what he's talking about. Skyman, what's the name of the law again? Let me grab the name of the law, and then I'll send out the case reference, and you can go and read all this. It makes it. And again, I'm not having a pop at the geezer. He was brave enough to bring this in. I am sent this because we have got an active thing on this. Let me have a look. It is the King. You're not going to be able to get that out there. I can't put a whole of it out there. Case number. This was this was up for judicial review, and it is still continuing as a case, I believe, because the second part is against the magistrates. So the geezer's doing well in what he's doing. Right, that's the case number. Hopefully everyone's just seen that. Has everyone seen that? Don't look like it's come out. Paste. Daddy Templar. Let me have a quick look at this. You wanted to know what act it was. I've got to try and find the property. £80.50. Legal framework. This was at paragraph 10. There it is. Paragraph 10. That's what covered it. There's some other elements to this case, though. It's not as there's some other bits. Is anyone seeing what I'm posting out? Is it actually being posted out? Because it's not coming up in my. It's not coming up in mine. It's going out to all, but it's not. I can't see it. Well, not yet. Luckily, I was on my push bike. Let me have a look. Spike Graham needs a comb over. Yeah, I know. My barnet's gone a bit pear-shaped. Andy 55. So it's not coming out. Why ain't coming out? Let me see if I can post it somewhere else. Hang on. Post that one. I've just posted it in the Full English Moderators channel. That was the name of that. and a case reference for this case. This is an important case, by the way, because whatever happens, the geezer has just got a ruling. Just because. So he's one part of his argument, the loss of, but the bit he's argued, people can go in there and say, right, well, I paid you that money, you need to give it back to me because it was unlawful to do it. And you don't take them to court for that. You send them a pre-action letter. You explain this case number. So I'm only talking about the people that got a summons. They had to pay their council tax plus the summons and liability costs, when the liability costs might be 50 pence. So if you had a bill that said you need to pay us this is a summons, and you need to pay £80 and 50 pence. 50 pence is what they're saying is summons cost. The £80 is the liability cost, which they haven't done yet. So if you paid, all you have to pay is what they're asking for, what your council tax is, and 50 pence. And if so, the other 80 quid, if you paid it, they need to give it back to you because it was unlawful to ask for it or demand it. It's a form of extortion. It's the best way of putting it. I'm hoping that I don't, between my thing, I don't want to go on for too much longer. I've got my nurse sitting next to me giving me daggers now, saying you're supposed to be standing up now. That was it. Was there anything else that people wanted to ask me before I switch off? So I've just stuck that in there. Someone's bound to put that in the chat for us because I can't put it in there. I don't know why it's not working. Why is that not working? He took it and put it into another one, but it won't put it into this for some reason. Let me have a look. Rumble. Let's put it in Rumble. Still not coming up. This is weird. I've never known that happen before. Bill of Rights, blah, blah, blah. What do you think of Lammy's 5-day removal of juries? I haven't seen it. I've been struggling a bit today. What happened with Lammy then? Good evening, DD and folks. Great to see you. Can't stop but catch up, Laurie. Wait, no worries. That's it. So don't forget, people, the Liam Tufts interview that was released on Sunday, and again, I'll just show you the clip where I explained to him in the politest possible terms that if you edit out the Jesuits or the Jews or the jihadists, this is what's going to happen to you, Liam Tufts. You're going to get a bullet in your head. Everyone who says that goes, you never said that to him because of that. I said, you'll have to watch the video now, won't you, to see why I said that. But let me have a quick look. As if I would go on screen and threaten to put a bullet in someone's head. Liam Tufts has been exceptionally good at crafting the edit on that to make people look and say, fuck me, he's just threatened Liam Tufts. So go and have a watch of it. You're going to get a bullet in your head. All right, so it's on there. How many's it had so far? 76,000 views 2 days ago. And remember, if you look at, and I'll see if I can bring it up on the screen, but the more you share this, let me share it out. Oh, no, it's not going to let me share it, is it? Let me see if I can go back to that. Paste. I wonder if it's going to let me share it. No, it's not. It's not allowing me to put it out. Why is that? There's something weird going on there. Probiotic yogurt. Taffy Pat, check out Liam Tuff's interviewing Graham. Absolutely epic. That's it. Put it out there. Oh yeah, I'm going to show you this as well before I leave. But if you can smash this out, we're working as a team, right? There's already people contacting me who have seen that and said we want you on the show, right? The more people that see it and go, we want him talking about England and our constitution, right? Because there's other people saying to me, I mean, there was 4 of us from the English Constitution Society at a Selden Society lecture with Lady Howe, right? So there's 4 of us, and all of them are in the chat at the moment, right? We're at the one of the Inns of Courts, Gray's Inn Court, I think it is, whatever it was, right? Lady Howe is giving a lecture. We're sitting right in the front. You know what I'm like, right? Sitting right in front of that, right? And she's giving this lecture. And in front of me, there was a Mohammedan woman. So at the end of the lecture, there's questions and answers. This Mohammedan woman, hijab on, barrister. There's all judges there, right? We was having that wine and cheese and biscuits with Lady Howe. Stephen Sedley was there. 2 other Supreme Court judges was there. We said hello to them. We like proper English. Hello, with the English Constitution Society, right? I loved it. Right, we was having chats with them. Anyway, and there was barristers, other judges there in the audience and all that. Just listen to it. Don't heckle people. Don't butt in. It's their lecture or their speech. And the Mohammedan lady said, I quote, "When will Sharia law be allowed to be law in England?" Right? And Lady Howe said, it won't. Sharia law is forbidden. It is unconstitutional. It's in the Bill of Rights. You can't have that law in this country. No form of religious law is allowed to exist in England. Right? Lady Howe, the president of the Supreme Court and the head of the Family Court of England, stated that. Right? There are people in this audience now who was there and heard her say that. If you're out there and you're listening, speak up and say, "Yep, I was there." The Faithful, Tracy, I don't know what else is there. Anyway, I was going to go and take you to something else. There is another event I'm going to, and they have booked me in already. But I'm not sure if we can get this out in some way. Oh, I need to stop that. How can I blow that up on the screen? Oh, I just did it. I'm a bit used to this because I'm getting used to this new setup, right? Our new studio. You're going to like this. Where are we? Hopefully you're going to hear this. I can't hear it. So there is something weird going on. Let me share. Window, Brave tab. WhatsApp. Also share, tab audio, share. Right, here we go.
I give you a toast, ladies and gentlemen. I give you a toast, ladies and gentlemen. May this fair land we love so well, in dignity and freedom dwell. The worlds may change and go awry, while there is still one voice to cry. There'll always be an England, while there's a country lane. Wherever there's a cottage small, beside a field of grain, there'll always be an England, while there's a busy street. Wherever there's a turning wheel, a million marching feet.
Relax with live bands, singers, and a resident DJ. Camping pitches for...
I give you a toast, ladies and gentlemen. I give you a toast, ladies and gentlemen.
Can I ask a question? Could you hear that? Put it in the chat. Could you hear it? Because I couldn't hear it. Could you hear it? I wonder if there's a volume button on this. I wonder if there's a volume button on that to share the sound. Might be on the back of there. I can't reach it. Well, it weren't coming through my sound. I wonder. Let me see if I can do it again. I've got to try and do this while I'm online with you, otherwise it'll go pear-shaped. Displays, brightness, default, refresh rate. What would it be under? Must be under sound. General, Bluetooth, spotlight, sound. Oh, there you go. Play sound effects. MacBook Pro, play sound effects, alert sound boot. Play sound, play feedback when volume is changed. Output, input. Map, that's what it should be. Output volume, let's turn that right up. Left and right speakers. Well, why weren't I hearing it then? Anyway, I have took up enough of your time. I am now going back on there, loud and proud. So if anyone wants to try and, I think we've put that now up on our little YouTube channel, but if anyone wants to put that out there, if I can get a copy of it, which I think I've got, I'll download it and see if I can put it out on other things as well. But what we need to do is create one like that for our convention, 2-day convention in Mablethorpe. That's going to be really important. We're trying to get everything set up. There's like people you can go and book in with, and it's a 2-day event at the oh blimey, what was it called again? My brain's gone because of the drugs. It worked for us. DD, thanks. Right, it's lucky. The Dunes Complex, Mablethorpe in Lincoln. Clash, English Civil War, brilliant song. Ace Jazz, looking forward, Mablethorpe. Yeah, I still haven't booked up my accommodation yet, but I will do shortly. That's it. I'm going to say good night, God bless. I am also going to say don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution. I believe we are winning. More people are talking about England now. We was several nations in England before we became a single nation in 927. We've got 2,000 years worth of history, and people like Benjamin, Naim, Habib, Nigel Farage even. Don't forget he's got a lot of French involved with his family. They don't particularly get on with us. That's it. So the Constitution is the solution. Keep sharing, especially share Liam Tuff's video. It was very kind of him to have me on there. Bearing in mind, you know what, YouTube have took me out so many times, it's unbelievable. I did actually try and tone myself down quite a bit, which I thought was funny. Yeah, I mean, the pre-chat we had, he went, fucking hell, you're not going to say that, are you? He said, you can say what you like. No, he didn't say that. What he actually said was, We need to have this conversation on camera. He said it's fucking intriguing. That's it. Oh, just to let you know, Doc Malik released a video today. I think it was today, with another guy talking about Jewish mafia. I think that's strange. That it's more. He didn't actually. He said it was organised crime. I'll refer to it Jewish mafia because everyone understands what a mafia is. A crime syndicate, organised crime, etc. It has a connotation to it, and the Jews have that organisation ability, and they've done it for over 2,000 years. And if anyone denies that, there's something wrong with them. Sort that Barnett out, DD. No, I will do. I'll sort it out. Don't you like my haircut? It's the drugs, I'll tell you. It's the drugs. Right, that's it. Good night. God bless. I'll see you all tomorrow evening. And hopefully I'll be feeling a little bit better. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't trust Doc Malik. But there you go. I'll speak to you later. Bye. End. It's not ending the stream.